Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sorare Thursday Club episode 23. It's officially one more sleep until the championship starts. And today we are talking about the championship. Championship, and more championship. Alongside me, to chew the fat today, we've got Bristol's answer to Dimitar Berbatov. It's Tornado. How are we doing, mate?
I'll take that. Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. Bit tired after a busy day in the real world. But yeah, excited to talk about the championship. I mean, obviously, you and Ricky will be at the game on Saturday. Bristol City, Preston, I believe it is.
That's right. Yeah, first game of the season.
I'll be doing some childcare, so I won't be there. But I'm excited. I'm excited to get going because obviously the championship usually means the start of Europe. It's the first one that comes back usually like around this time. So no, I'm excited.
You'll be glad to know that the City v Preston game generally every year is the most drab, boring game where we either lose or draw.
Aren't they like your bogey team? Because I swear I've seen Bristol City Preston maybe 2 or 3 times, and I don't think I've ever seen Bristol City win.
I've definitely never enjoyed a Preston game, so there'll be many pints had, I think. But exactly. Hey, the season's coming back, so I'm looking forward to it. And obviously tomorrow is the first official game. So Sheffield Wednesday v Saints. It's my anniversary tomorrow. What do you think the odds of me catching that one are?
About the same as Ricky being on the show tonight, considering it's his wife's birthday today. So
that's true.
I'd say slim, very slim.
I'm not even going to ask. We'll catch it later. But anyway, what's your predictions? Have you got any thoughts on Saints this season? Saints Wednesday. Who's going to win that first game?
Well, I do have a thought. I don't want to jump ahead of myself too much, but I do fancy Saints to have a pretty good year this year. Obviously, they've gone down. I don't think Ward-Prowse is going to leave.
Doesn't seem to be, does he?
Well, it's been flirted with the idea of him going to West Ham, but Southampton want so much that I think West Ham have pulled out. Plus, he absolutely loves Southampton. He's been there for years. He's been their main man. He probably feels really like he wants to get them back up into the league again. So he could definitely be someone that stands out massively from the crowd in the championship. And then Sheffield Wednesday, obviously, I think will struggle. They got through in the playoffs, didn't they, from League One last year? We're obviously with a Sheffield Wednesday fan last week for Sorare 7, so he was giving it the big one, obviously.
He was.
Not bad, no, good lad. But yeah, I think Sheffield Wednesday will struggle this year. I think Sheffield Wednesday at home, right, tomorrow. So you like to think they're going to be up for it, and the crowd are going to be behind them, obviously. But I think Southampton will win.
I quite fancy Southampton to win by a couple of goals in that game.
Yeah, agreed.
But either way, it's great to have it back. So, I said today is pretty much going to be all championship based, but as always, we will begin the show with the weekly ramble, which now actually we probably should have copyrighted it because I don't know if you noticed, there's now a Sorare content show called The Ramble, which recently hit Twitter this week, didn't it? Have you seen it?
I have seen it. I'm not sure we can fully claim the word ramble though. I'm pretty sure there was a podcast called what's the other one called that's Ramble that I definitely listened to about 8 years ago. So
nah, it's definitely us first. Okay. Anyway, straight into it. Fiat Wallet went live. It was probably the biggest thing I would say most people were moaning about or just referring to as barrier to entry was crypto, how difficult it was to fund or get money into it and out. The amount of people being put off by it. We even had a friend at the weekend who struggled to join because of the whole crypto element. Spent a good hour, didn't we, trying to get him onboarded just through the crypto wallet. So they spoke about it for a while. They released it literally the last couple of days. Was it yesterday? John, have you got on there yet?
I haven't had a chance to activate my cash wallet yet. I've seen that I had a little pop-up come up when I logged on late last night saying
your wife might be in the corner.
She's
struggling to compose yourself.
Yeah, she's been a bit of a it's been interesting of it. No, I've seen the cash wallet pop-up come up. I haven't had time to go through it yet because obviously you've got to screenshot your driving license, is that right? Or any sort of identification just to sort of show who you are. I'm not sure. Obviously, you've probably bit further along the line than I am. But as me and Ricky discussed on Tuesday, I think it's a great thing. It's been long overdue. Obviously, there's a lot of administration that probably goes into adding something like that to the game. So I'm glad they finally managed to do it. And it really is going to help onboarding, I think, with a lot of people that really struggled with the whole process of depositing and waiting for fees, waiting for your ETH to come into your balance. We had a friend a few months ago, obviously, that was waiting for how long? 6 weeks, which is,
I think probably more than that. And then we're talking like 800 quid lost in.
I think it was a mixture between obviously Coinbase being a bit strange and also just the general process of Sorare is just difficult to understand. So yeah, hopefully this will help.
And what do you think it will actually do to the platform? Do you think we're going to see an immediate spike? Do you think it's going to have no impact at all? Because everyone has got their sort of opinions on actually what turning it on will do. I
don't think it's going to have an immediate spike, but I do think them doing this probably means we're about to get a big marketing push, because we really haven't had a full marketing program towards Sorare, have we? We've had little bits and bobs around the place, like a few hoardings and a few little ads on like transfer market website and stuff like that. But I think there's going to be a big push now, especially with this new kickoff game coming in, the one which is more about the general fan, the sort of one-on-one aspect, down the pub with your friends. And now they've brought on this new wallet system, which should make it easier. I think that was the key for them now going, right, all systems go. So I think there will be a big rush, but it will be as a consequence of marketing now.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. So I don't know if you saw Nikolai's tweet, but he kind of referenced the roadmap or kind of an update of where they're at with it, which was ticking off the wallet, and the next two aspects were the app incoming, which you just referenced, and then the Christ, what else you just referenced?
Marketing.
Yeah, and then the marketing campaign. Yeah, so I think it makes sense, like making it more accessible and then putting out the marketing, because the last thing they wanted to do was, and they have done it to a point, is onboard people and then people have a bad experience, and then that end up being the reputation that gets spread across other pie. So I think they're doing it right. It'd be interesting to see how the marketing is done and actually, what impact they actually have with it. My honest opinion is like it's not going to cause any form of boom or like quick push in terms of like new users coming on, but it will retain users that do start with it or have a go, which is probably even more important. So it will just be a gradual organic growth, and we'll see the platform should grow. I agree. Which is a good thing. It's a healthy, sustainable way to do it, isn't it?
Well, I think they had a big old push towards new people coming on during the World Cup, didn't they? And that was great. But I'd imagine how many of those you reckon stayed on and continuously are using the game? Probably not a huge amount, because it's a bit complicated. But yeah, it's barriers to entry like this. What will definitely help the platforms sort of become a more sustainable long-term thing. So yeah, it's good. It's good for the game. I need to get some time to actually implement it into my cash wallet thing, because I haven't had a chance yet.
I've been exactly the same, mate. And funny enough, I saw there have been people on Twitter posting that actually they're almost trickling it through the system as well. So not everyone has yet had the opportunity to do it. Some people have said if it hasn't pinged up, that if you try and sell a card on the market, that triggers it, which may be true. I've just had it ping up on my screen. So I thought, while we're here, I'll show everyone what it looks like for anyone that hasn't seen it or has an interest. So this is the screen that flicks up, introducing the cash wallet. Talks about basically you have to choose your preference in terms of which currency is shown, and also use them for transactions. And then the intent around deposits being seamless as well as withdrawals. I saw someone actually using it, and they referenced, I think the cost was around like 5 pence or something that had come out from a transaction, and that was regardless of like, so that was using the fiat wallet, and that was regardless of like how much they were spending. Versus obviously we had a friend the other day who deposited, say, was it 30 quid and then lost 6 quid of it, using the traditional ramp and ETH balance transfer. So that in itself is massive. While it's on screen, please read the small print. I'm not going to. I'm just going to click activate my cash wallet, see what happens. So it's easy to do it. Share some basic info, your name, date of birth, nationality, cool. Your currency, so pick USDs, euros, or pounds, and then your ID to go part of it. Again, something else I saw, which we referenced in the small print, is when you pick what you want as your currency as well. I think you can change the currency that is shown, but you cannot change the currency that you choose your preference for deposits and sales of what you accept. So you can either accept ETH and fiat, whatever your preference is, or you can just choose ETH, or you can just choose fiat. So it's worth people having a consideration around what actually they would, what they would like to see, or know what their preference is. So again, while we're here, let's ping it up just to see what comes up out of interest. So UK, everyone knows my name now.
Mate, you're from United Kingdom. You're Swiss Mafia, mate.
Well, I know, but I'm an illegal immigrant. It's the same thing. There you go. Up on screen, still my details. Currencies, this is a bit right. So once selected, you cannot change it. So it's good that they share that, which is really important. Euros, pounds, or sterlings. Pounds for me. Take your time to do it. I actually saw that someone cocked it up earlier. I'm guessing you still contact them, get it through, but it's probably a pain in the ass. And then activate.
Activate.
Your cash wallet is activated. Well, that was pretty simple, wasn't it? And then you can add your ID. I'll add my ID later because I don't want to give away any further details. So what's changed on screen? Looks like top right now, cash and ETH up top there, as opposed to the old balance, which I think was quite hard to see. You can add your ID up there. Cool, that's nice and simple. And then add and withdraw previously with all your transactions on there. Add funds, add ETH or add cash. So yeah, I'll have to put in my ID before I put more in, which again, I'm not going to do on screen. But all in all, a very simple, seamless process. So I'm happy with that. I don't think that should be difficult for anyone who's not played Sorare before. What's your thoughts looking at that, John?
I mean, it seems easy, doesn't it? It seems a lot easier than it was before, that's for sure. Like I don't do a lot of deposits. Haven't done deposit for a long time, actually. It's mainly been a sell to buy sort of process. But like, I remember when I was doing deposits in the first year of joining, like I was doing them so sporadically that I genuinely couldn't remember how to do them every time. Like, and they were so complicated it wasn't complicated. It was just that you have to remember the procedure. And they always say, like when you're using your Coinbase wallet, it's like, make sure you've selected the right currency, the crypto. Like there's so much you have to be really bloody on.
Recheck the code as well, because people put malware in that can then take the code and put other codes in, send to other wallets.
Exactly.
Like, it was hectic, wasn't it? And then you do it, and then you sit there going, shit, have I got it right? And then an hour passes, and you're like, oh no, maybe I've done it wrong. You could be talking about like 500, $1,000. It's horrible. So yeah. All in all, I think we're all in agreement. We're happy. We'll find out more as we play it, I guess. So moving on to main section, the championship, or championship in focus. So what we're gonna do, I posted this on Twitter earlier as well. We've had a few a few people share their opinions already in this, which is great. I'm gonna try and collate kind of general consensus across everyone who follows us. But we're looking at who the winner will be, who the runner-up will be, who makes the playoffs, who's the surprise package, who will be relegated, who gets the golden boot, and then we'll finish going through our SO5 team of the season. So basically focusing on the championship, which 5 players, if we had unlimited budget, would we say go and buy? We think these guys will be the smashers. So how best to do this? What we're going to do is manage to find a very ropey table builder right here, which we're going to build our predictions on the championship with. My voice just broke. Great. And also, we're giving some free promotion here by the looks of it to Adobe. So you're very welcome.
Happy days.
John.
Sponsored by Adobe.
Sponsored by Adobe, Thursday Club. We'll start at the bottom and work our way up, right? So JD, if you go first, and what we'll do is we'll try and get a bit of an agreement between us. So feel free to challenge back on who we think is going to be there. Which 3 clubs have you decided you think will be relegated?
Okay, so I've gone for QPR.
QPR.
QPR, which I think is a pretty solid guess. I've gone for Huddersfield, who have been well, just stayed up by the skin of their teeth last year, but do have Neil Warnock in charge, who does love to stay up. And I've gone my rogue. It's a bit of a rogue one. I think there are worse teams than them, but I was so many bad teams. I decided to just go rogue and choose something that's a bit more out there. I've gone for. It's not going to be very, very happy for one of the people in our Sorare group. I'm going to go for Blackburn.
Oh, that is rogue.
It's very rogue.
Yeah.
And the only reason I'm saying it is because they've got rid of Bradley Dack. They've got rid of Thomas Kaminski, who I know didn't play for the last third of last season, and Brereton Diaz. I know Brereton Diaz is specifically was key to them.
Yeah, he's a quality player, isn't he?
I just think they haven't really replaced them. I just think they're going to struggle, and maybe they don't get relegated, but I think they certainly aren't going to have a more successful season than they had last year. So sorry, Brendan, if you are watching this, but I'm putting Blackburn in there.
Fair play. I think, what's my opinions on that? So I would 100% agree with you on at least one of those teams. So QPR for me were 100%, well, say 100%. I'm very confident they will be going down. They've got Gareth Ainsworth in charge. He's a Route 1 manager. Do you remember him? He was at Wickham and he had it in power.
I do.
I mean, that was.
He's also complete maverick, isn't he? Completely nuts.
Yeah, and it was effective, but he's kind of one-dimensional. And if everyone remembers in the Championship, he did well to get there, and then he took them down. So his CV in the Championship is, it has relegation in it. I don't think he's got much more in him in terms of he's an all right manager, but I don't think he's good enough to keep them up. They've got Cher and Willock, who are both really good players, but I think they've got to play out their skins to keep them up. So QPR, I'm 100% agreement with you. The other two, Blackburn, I think is proper rogue. I do agree. I agree. They're not going to. I don't think they're going to have a good season. They've signed Tronstadt, who's on Sorare. Tronstadt's a decent player. So they got a chance.
They signed Sigurdsson as well, didn't they? Not the pedo one. They signed they signed Arnold Sigurdsson, who's a good player. So they've made a couple of signings. I mean, it is a bit rogue. I'd probably more likely put them in the yellow above that. To be perfectly honest with you, it's just more of a sort of.
They're going to have a tougher season, aren't they?
A hidden gem, an opposite hidden gem for me.
Yeah.
And then
and then Huddersfield. Yeah. So. My other two would be I'm going for Sheffield Wednesday. So sorry to our mate Archie from Sorare Sevens, but and he told me there's no way they're going down, but I just can't see it. I thought they did really well to go up. Darren Moore was a good manager for them as well. I think he papered over the cracks of those guys, and they've got rid of him. They got a Spanish manager who I don't think hasn't done a lot really. His last couple of jobs, he's been pretty pants in random divisions. They got a thin squad. They lack quality in that squad, in my opinion. And they've got a really bad owner as well. So they're kind of that kind of club. You can have everything right, and if you've got a bad owner, things tend to go wrong anyway. So I'm pretty confident that Sheff Wednesday go down. And the other team I had was Rotherham, because they're one of the weaker teams anyway. I can't see Rotherham finishing above the next tier at best. Sorry, but they got a thin squad. They're pretty poor each year in terms of quality, but they have a decent manager in Matty Taylor. So that's the only thing that could save them is their manager is pretty solid, which is why I put them above Sheff Wednesday. So we said we try and agree.
I think we got to take
Blackburn up one.
Yeah, let's take Blackburn out. That was a bit too rogue. I decided to just throw it out there. I think Huddersfield. Have we already talked about Huddersfield? I think they're really going to struggle too. I just think Neil Warnock's a fossil now. Come on, what's he doing? I know he's kind of charismatic in inverted commas, and he's kind of like the Sam Allardyce of the Championship sort of thing. But nah,
you can only do it so many times.
Yeah, I just think. I'd make a case. We both said QPR, so obviously we're keeping them. Yeah,
you can have Huddersfield. Then I'll let you have them, and then there's Rotherham or Sheff Wednesday that going down with them. And I honestly can't look past Sheff Wednesday. I think they're rotten to the core without owners.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Rotherham obviously were one of the favourites to go down last year, and I think did well to stay up, didn't they? So they've got that.
So we shift Rotherham up one. You happy with that?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, cool. So we filled Rotherham and Blackburn in there. Right, so we're going to move on from relegated 3 into the top half now before we fill the rest. So going into the top 2 or winners, who have we got in there?
Well, so as winner, if we're going straight for winner, I've gone for Southampton. I've previously talked about him. Obviously, I think there's going to be a few teams up there. I think it's going to be a very close season. But I just think Southampton have got a really good mix of really good young quality players, and mostly all signed from Man City. It seems to be just buying all of Man City's youth players at the moment. And they've obviously got Ward-Prowse still there. They've got some other good sort of older heads there. I just think they're going to have a good season. I think they're almost preparing for this season ahead of time. I think they kind of knew they were struggling. I don't know. I don't know what you think about that. What do you reckon?
Saints. I had Saints pegged as my number 2. So, I wouldn't disregard them to win the league, because if you look at their team, what they've got, they finished the season with McCarthy, who was obviously battling out Bazanu, but Bazanu will be in goal. They've still got Leanco, they've still got Ward-Prowse, which is ridiculous. I'm pretty sure they've still got Alcaraz.
I think a lot rests on the next couple of weeks. Obviously, I think Ward-Prowse will stay, but they've got a lot of other players there that are getting transfer rumoured to other teams. So if they can keep hold of a few.
Because Bella Kochuk is way too good for this level.
Bella Kochuk getting linked.
He's a ridiculous player.
Yeah, they've got
Livramento. He's a good player.
He's gone to Newcastle,
wasn't he?
He's gone to Newcastle today. But they've got Stuart Armstrong's a good sort of old head on his shoulders, sort of there. They got goal scorers, but it does all depend on what happens in the next couple of weeks. But I do think they'll win the league. So they've
got depth, haven't they? Because if you lose Ward-Prowse or you lose Teller, Lavia, like they've all been linked. You still got Alcaraz, for example. Still got Armstrong. Again, I watch Bristol City week in, week out. These players are good enough to compete and beat teams like that. And Bristol City are more of a mid-tier sort of side. So, I guess up front would be my only concern with Southampton. That's why I didn't pick them as league winners. Is anyone there shouting 20 goals plus striker at you? I'm not seeing that.
I don't know. I think they've got a lot of players that can score 15 goals plus. So maybe if they just spread it around, that'll be good enough. But like I said,
Armstrong at this level and Shea Anders, maybe I don't know.
Genuinely, I reckon there's about 5 teams that can win the league this year. There's probably like this every year in the Championship. I don't usually look at it too deeply because, thank God, touch wood, Everton have never been in it, so I've never really had to think about it too much. But there just seems to be a lot of really good quality sort of ex-Premier League playing teams there at the moment. My other team I had as runner-up was Middlesbrough, who is almost the opposite of that. I'm not sure of their Premier League quality players. However, I really like Michael Carrick as a coach. I just think he's
top.
If they can keep him there for the season, which I can't see him getting sacked. I could see him getting poached maybe by a Premier League team that sacks a manager in the first sort of couple of months. So there is that caveat, but they've got Chupa Akpom, I think it is. He's their sort of star man. He's getting linked with a few teams, like most of the Championship's best players usually do. But I could see him staying there. He's reasonably young, I think. I think he might miss the start of the season through injury potentially. But I'm back.
27. It feels like he's been around forever.
Yeah,
but he's 27 is prime, right?
Yeah, I've got Matthew Hopp there as well, who's a ex-Sorare guy.
He's just moved, actually. So Matthew Hopp today has moved back to Rickyall like this, back to San Jose Earthquakes.
Has he? No way.
Yeah. He'd be, which is probably why he's gone from 17 with his last sale to a floor price of 64, because suddenly you got L15 of 35 and you got him up there.
I'm mainly backing Carrick here.
Well, and to my point with Southampton, you've got a striker here who's a top scorer league striker, and I think that's what you need in the Championship: someone who's going to bang in the goals. So I'm with you there. I'm not. I wouldn't have them as high as you though. To be perfectly honest, I think they're solid, but and I like Carrick as well, but I probably would have them in that sort of middle tier, 7th to 13th mark.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
But let's leave them up there for now. So Saints is also who I'd have had as my second team. Who I think will win the league this season, Leicester. So I think Leicester have got their squad is too strong, in my opinion. We get them on screen to show, but in terms of like who they have, just off the top of my head, they got Dewsbury Hall in midfield, who put a good showing in the Premiership, and in my opinion, will be the best. And whether or not it translates to Sorare and everything, he will be the best midfielder in the Championship next season. I think he's that good. They've also got Harry Winks in the middle, who's come across. So those two together, I think, is super strong. They were weak, in my opinion, in goalkeeper. They've signed Hermanson, so they've sorted that position out. Boutface, Connor Cody, Callum Doyle was probably my favourite defender in the league, future England player, in my opinion. And he's, potentially may not even be starting because some of these guys. Suter's really good. So defensively, like really, really solid, or should be. Chowdhury, watched that season's quality. Dewsbury Hall, yeah, we said about him. They've just got so many good players. Again, up front is a bit everyone have their own opinions. Like, I actually think on paper in Championship, those three are very good. How good Vardy will be depends on his fitness, doesn't it? But he'll a bit like Pookie, maybe you could say. He'll find space and he knows how to score. Iheanacho, I think you like Iheanacho, don't you?
I like
Iheanacho.
I think Iheanacho is going to leave Leicester, to be honest with you. He's getting heavily linked to quite a lot of teams, including Everton. I think Daka might stay. I may be mentioning him later, potentially. But
okay. Yeah.
No, I think you're right. Leicester are my team to finish third. So, I'm not too far off with that. They do have a very good squad, if not maybe they're kind of like aging maybe a little bit, but maybe I'm just thinking of Vardy. I don't know. Yeah. But also, what is with their love affair with Danish goalkeepers? They absolutely have a Danish goalkeeper, don't they?
Well, so do we, to be fair. How many Danish keepers have we signed between us?
How many Danish number 3s have they got in their squad?
It's a never-ending pool of talent, that.
But no, I think you're right. Okay. They're also a good team. I think obviously I've seen Cody firsthand last year at Everton. I think he's not only is he a good defender, I would have liked us to sign him actually, but he's a really good leader and a good character, and he's vocal. Like he's injured at the moment, but he's certainly someone that will sort of get him through that season. The only reason I didn't have them in that top 2 was because I just think they're almost. I almost feel like they're going to start the season in shock because I was so surprised they got relegated.
Yeah.
Like the whole season when they were struggling and around Everton, I was just like, well, we're not going to be competing with Leicester for relegation at the end. Like they'll just win like 4 games in a row at some point and be fine. And it just never happened. And obviously now they've sold, they have still got a very good squad, but they've sold Maddison, they've sold Barnes, they've sold, is Castagna gone? I think Castagna's gone, Pereira's going. So although they still have a good squad, like their main players who they would have played with for a few years now have left. So I think they'll be strong enough to get playoffs, definitely. But that was my only reason for not putting them top 2 personally.
I'm with you, mate. I'm with you. So I'm thinking based on that, and again, we're trying to meet in the middle a little bit. So should we say Saints and Leicester are the 2 that are going up, Middlesbrough drop down into the playoffs?
I think you're right, yeah.
Yeah, cool. So as well, we're on the topic of playoffs, what other 3 clubs would you stick in there with Middlesbrough?
Okay, so obviously I did have Leicester in there, but I've gone for Norwich, who are the serial yo-yoers of Premier League Championship. I've gone for Watford, who had a really poor season last year, but I just think they've got enough quality in their squad to get up. Mm-hmm. And then I've gone for another team that will make one of our friends happy, is Millwall. Zian Fleming. I just think, they came so close last year. They got to the playoffs, didn't they? They lost to the semi.
They had a great season.
And I just think, they've kept that team. They've added to it with Nisbet. Who else did they get? They bought someone else. Can't remember. But I just think their time has come. They've sort of kept their assets and improved them. I think they're going to make the playoffs. That would be my shout. I'm
with you. I mean, I'm in shock that Zion Fleming's still there because I owned one, and I felt like at 200 quid he was an asset I couldn't hold, just because he was gonna, again, if he left to a bigger, he was linked to Lazio, wasn't he, and Roma and quite a few random clubs. But I'm now finding myself really wanting one back, but probably not getting hold one. So you were trying to think of who else they signed. They've just signed another goalkeeper.
Right.
They signed the Wolves keeper, who I can't think of his name off the top of my head. He was Wolves' third choice because they've
ready.
got
Ready?
Hey?
Not ready.
No, ready gone. That was a few years ago.
Yeah.
They've got, because Wolves have got Jose Sarr and Bentley, so the third choice keeper has moved there. I don't know if he's any good. I've never seen him play. But Ivy was telling us that George Long is criticised quite a bit by the Millwall fans. Bielkowski is the preferred keeper, but he's obviously old at 36, and he lost his place last season. So I think that was probably one of the most important roles to fill in a side that performed well. So yeah, I think they're in a good position. Casper Denor is probably the one you were trying to think of earlier, mate.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he was in Belgium, wasn't he? It was Belgium, wasn't it?
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, his Sorare scores are extremely high, but again, whether they translate to Championship is another thing.
They got Billy Mitchell from the EastEnders as well.
Billy Mitchell, classic. It's George Saville, actually. Unfortunate name, but great player. Seen him play a few times before, and he's pretty rock solid. I like him as a pickup. Someone's looking for a decent midfielder in the Championship who also has international utility. Northern Ireland starts every game. He's a decent player. And then up front, Nisbet's been banging in pre-season. Not owning Nisbet. I think he's a decent hold at 41 for the cap mode. Watmore's had a really good pre-season as well, randomly. And then obviously Zion Fleming. I don't know why he's not listed as a forward. And Tom Bradshaw scored 17 last season, but I wouldn't be spending any money on Bradshaw because I think that was a massive overachievement.
They got a lot of goals up there, haven't they? They've definitely got goals. And I think,
so many goals.
So many goals. I think, talking about it now, they might even be pushing top two, I reckon. Maybe, if they can score the goals. The only thing to be said is maybe their squad isn't that big. Obviously, the Championship is pretty grueling, isn't it, on the body? Like a 6 Sorare Sevens games in 3 hours, like we did.
I'm only just recovering. We played on Tuesday as well, and I am dead.
I was off sick on Monday and Tuesday. My body just shut down. I just couldn't cope. But no, yeah. So you agree on Millwall then? You like your Millwall?
Mate, I am. I'm putting Millwall in there as well. So they were a choice for me to hit the playoffs. I just think they're progressing really well. We've spoken about a lot of positive reasons to do it. And one other reason we haven't mentioned is the fact that Millwall have arguably the most passionate supporters in quite a hostile stadium, which goes a long way as well in terms of winning games, especially when you need them. So I'm with you. I've got Millwall up there. I don't and wouldn't have Norwich or Watford. I would drop them down to the tier below, personally. So the sides I would have put in the playoffs, one of them maybe a bit more surprising. I think that they'll overachieve this season is Hull. Hull have made some good signings, first and foremost. They've got goals in them this season, but probably their best signing or the best decision was to get Leroy Rossini in charge. Or Liam Rossini in charge. Leroy's the old boy, who used to play for us as a fullback actually at City, but he's a very good coach, very good manager. They turned them from being like the worst defensive record in the league to one of the best, if not the best, last season. And I just think they're getting better and better. So Hull are like a sneaky pick. I think maybe they just miss out. And I'd be happy for you to challenge me on that one. But I think they've got a big season ahead of them. Another team that I'm putting in the playoffs, which again is probably potentially a bit of a surprise, Birmingham.
Is it breaking news because of today? Is it?
No, actually. So that just adds to it. Birmingham are like probably they're a team I think could even challenge the top two, which sounds ridiculous given what they've done historically. They've been a bit of a shit show in recent years, but they have got they made so many good signings this transfer window. I think they've done the best business out there. They signed Bielek, who played for Derby, who is an amazing CDM and straight away. He steps up a league. He is probably the best CDM in the league, arguably. Time will tell. They signed Ethan Laird from Man United, a fullback. They paid like $250,000, I think it was, for him. He's really a solid, decent fullback. Too good for sort of mid to lower tier championship. I think he can get them up. Tyler Roberts as a striker as well, really good. They made loads of signings. They've signed players for more money than that as well. And then they've got John Eustace as their manager and Tom Brady now on board. They're just a team that I think are just progressing up and up. And I think they'll sneak into the playoffs. Then who else do I have for the playoffs? I had Leeds in there. So Leeds I see as a bit of a risk though. Like out of the teams that went down, you referenced like how teams can go down and like it hurts them and you know they get a bit of a shock when they go down. Leeds probably I think are my team. I think because on paper most people will go Leeds should be a top 3, but I think they struggle, but they might sneak the playoffs. Their squad is still quality. But I just question how bad that relegation hits them.
It's a tough one, isn't it? I think Leeds, obviously, are a well-supported club and they're a massive club, but they do need to make sales. They have to. I know they've
still got quite a lot, haven't they?
Yeah, I know they've got new owners, but like it doesn't matter. They still need to break even, otherwise they're gonna. I mean, this is coming from an Everton fan that's been completely nailed by.
Well, then you know.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think they're going to struggle. Obviously, I don't think they're going to struggle. They'll probably still be challenging playoffs, but I think,
it's not going to be as easy as they think it is, it?
Yeah. And then referencing your other two teams, I certainly think Birmingham are trending upwards. I think, I don't know, I think it could be a bit of a push for them to get playoffs personally. But obviously, Brady's in charge. Brady and whoever has come in for a reason. Like, whatever you say about Brady, he probably knows absolutely naff all about football or soccer, but he's a winner. And he's clearly getting involved for a reason. I know Birmingham's obviously a big city, so that's probably why. But, and then Hull.
Sorry, mate, to interrupt you, mate. So Dion Sanderson and Lee Buchanan, they've been signed for quite a fair whack of money. So that was the other point. So with those guys, plus Ethan Laird at fullback, their defence gets stronger, and Bilek as a CDM is extremely strong. They already have Bakuna who can create, and George Hall. Have you heard of this guy?
I've not heard. I've heard of Joe Bellingham being Jude Bellingham's brother, but I've not heard of George Hall. No. So
George Hall is my tip to smash it in the championship this season. A young breakthrough. Have a hell of a season. George Hall was the name to remember. If Birmingham cards were released or are released, he would be the first player I'd be going for in that team.
Wow.
I think he's got a big future ahead. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent with my excitement around Birmingham.
That's all right.
Because typically I don't like Birmingham.
Well, I was going to reference your Hull claim as well. I was just saying. I mean, I personally sort of overlooked Hull a little bit. I've thought they might struggle, to be honest with you, and be down the lower tier. But I've just seen they've signed. I know they've signed Aaron Conley. I saw that on Twitter yesterday. But I saw they signed Liam Delap as well from Man City on loan, which is actually a really good signing. So that sort of snuck under the radar. And Liam Rossini is clearly a good coach. I think having these young coaches is really good. Personally, like Warnock and all that, they just need to just give over now. Come on.
Oh, what Hull have signed as well, mate?
Yeah, they signed Ruben Vinagre.
That's it.
Yeah.
Is he good? I thought he was supposed to be really good when he was young, and then nothing's really happened with him.
Mate, he's still under 23. He's still young. I was kind of looking forward to him coming in last year. He's quite an attacking fullback, so I'm not quite sure of his defensive capabilities. But he got injured. He was injured the entire season, and we only had him on loan, so it wasn't really something where we could just pay for him because he hadn't played. So I'm not sure. I think Hull might have actually officially signed him from Sporting Lisbon. Now,
he's moved. I'm pretty sure he's moved there on a.
He's a good player, but he's one of those left backs that doesn't know if he's a left winger or a left back. He's just like that left wing back position, and that really requires a team to play left wing backs, really, because if they play four at the back, he's going to be a weak link. But if he plays up to like a bit more attacking, then he'll be good. But yeah, I mean, I could pretty much make an entire championship stack of Everton players, ex-Everton players now, because Begovic has joined QPR, Cody Leicester, Vinagre at Hull, Ellis Sims has joined Coventry, who we haven't mentioned yet, and I think he'll do well. So basically, Everton's players are good enough for the Championship. That's what we've discovered here.
Which we were telling you all along, as me and Ricky were predicting Everton to hit the Championship last season. they overachieved. They stayed in the Prem, so well done, Everton.
Oh, thank you.
Cov actually they narrowly missed the cut for me there because I think they're a really good side and they've made good signings with like say Ellis Sims replacing Jokera if Sims can do the business. The last point about Hull, do you know Xavi Simons plays for them as well? No?
What?
Yeah. Genuinely. Xavier Simons.
So a different one, I presume.
Correct. He's a 20-year-old substitute. But yeah, he sounds like he's good, right? And he's a bit of a cult on the game already. So we've got too many teams in that top four. Middlesbrough, we've already agreed are going in. I think we're in agreement Millwall going through.
Well, we haven't talked about Norwich and Watford too much yet, so
that's true.
I don't know. What do you think of them? Obviously, they're sort of big teams, aren't they? Norwich and Watford in terms of for the Championship. I definitely do. If you look at every year, I look at their squad, both of their squads, and think they're good enough to get up. I don't think that changes this year. Like they definitely have the quality, to both come up.
I've got like a soft spot for Norwich, and I like a lot of their players, and the fact that they're on so rare. I own a few, and I think they've got some good players to own. So like, do I think they're good enough for do I think they're good enough for making the playoffs? Not quite. Like Angus Gunn's a weird one. So like he seems to be really highly rated on so rare. And it may have been an off game, but he's the worst goalkeeper I've ever seen play against Bristol City. He was absolute dross and just didn't seem to have anything. Grant Hanley's quality at the back, but he's injured. I think that's going to hamper them a lot. Yeah. Max Aarons is going to be leaving. Tomkinson has just got injured. I believe he's a good young centre-back to come back. Omobama Delhi is supposed to be leaving potentially as well. These two have just come in. Stacey and Long, good pickups for so rare if you want cheap cap players, but how good are they? Sarah's just come back from injury. I think he will absolutely smash. So if Norwich can get playoffs, it's basically reliant on him to be star boy, in my opinion. They have signed Fasnacht, who's I know him, he's a Swiss player who's come across from Young Boys. He's actually pretty good. He's played for Switzerland before. He's not elite level, like top level, but he's Championship's probably his level, so he'll probably do quite well. O'Neill Hernandez is highly rated at times, but he seems to be flat and to deceive. Marcelino Nunez, likewise. McLean's solid. So they've got a decent side. I think it's the strikers I'm a bit unsure about because Ida's not done enough. You know more than me about Rashika, don't you?
Well, Rashika's leaving to join Galatasaray. Okay. I own him, but
that's right. Sure.
I was thinking more of. Ashley Barnes is obviously a shit house and very good at scoring. You know him from his Poulton days, don't you?
I used to mark him. He used to destroy me. Yeah. Remember him well.
I think obviously he's a good player to come in. He sort of take on that Pookie role of being the old head up top. I don't know. I just think they'll be there because they're Norwich rather than, necessarily they'll do that well. They've obviously got ex-Huddersfield guy in charge now. Not Daniel
Farker. Not Farker. Who have they got now?
I've forgotten his name. David Wagner. David Wagner.
That's it. Yeah.
Who's he got Huddersfield up, so he's got a history of doing it. I don't know. We'll see. And then Watford.
I'm not convinced on Norwich. I'm gonna challenge you and say they should drop down one tier.
No worries. You can challenge away, and then Watford. Yeah, that's fine. And then Watford, sort of similar, really. Obviously, there's a lot of to and fro in Watford every year. They'll probably have about 9 different managers this season, which is always sort of something that's hindered them, really. I just don't know why they keep doing it.
They're wild.
But they do have good players. I know they've sold Sarr, they've sold Thingamajig to Brighton. Pedro, that's it, yeah. So there's a bit of a changing of guard, but maybe that's what they need. Maybe they needed a sort of freshen up for Punani. I don't know.
They have signed there.
They've signed Georgie Chakvedadze. Daniel Bachman signed a new 5-year deal there, and now the captain, the goalkeeper. I've pretty much
Was
got.
O'Coy gone? Was he only on loan or what?
I think he's still there. Oh no, maybe he's not then.
I mean, he's not showing up. I just haven't been following, so I have no idea if he's there or not.
Not sure.
That was a weird one, wasn't it? Everyone got excited about him playing, spent loads
He
of money.
was so highly touted, wasn't he? Then he's just gone off the radar. They got Porteous, who's a good defender from Hibs.
He is good. I like Porteous a lot.
They signed Jamal Lewis recently, but yeah, just if you look exclusively at the players they have in their squad, they do have a really good squad of players. Imran Louser's
good.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Seaman's pretty solid.
And then they've got loads of players that sort of alternate between Watford and Udinese every season. So that's someone I was going to mention, Reece Healy. He's obviously come in from Toulouse. He was phenomenal for Toulouse the year they got promoted the year before, in the second tier in France.
Do you remember it? Is that from Ultimate Champion? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
He always sticks out to me from that.
Yeah, he was banging them in. He got a really serious injury. Missed the entire season apart from the final game, where he came in and scored on that final game, and then I think he got sold to Watford. So if he can stay fit, I think he could be a real good signing for them this year. But yeah, I just think they'll be around there. So if they do move down a tier in our thing, then fine. But I think they'll be close to.
We've got to drop down 2 clubs, right? So what we'll do then?
I think Millwall and Middlesbrough stay, right? Because we both, you said Middlesbrough were around that, and then Millwall we've both agreed on, right? So
yeah. I think maybe Hull just missed out, to be fair, but I think they have a good season, so I'll drop them down as I suggested them. And there's one more to miss, and I in my opinion, that's going to be Watford that are going to miss out, but I'm happy to be challenged.
Well, I was going to say we'll let you have Birmingham because that's kind of like your rogue pick, and then we're going to choose between Leeds and Watford. So who do we think between Leeds and Watford then? So you think Leeds will come back up again?
I don't know. Leeds are a funny one, aren't they? I don't know. For some reason, I think they are going to struggle more than they should or people think. Should we go for a bit of a shock and drop Leeds down 1?
Yeah, go on. Let's drop Leeds down 1.
There you go. Someone has to
struggle. You know what always happens though? You know what always happens in the Championship? Some team that's like 13th with like 8 games to spare will just like go on a winning run and just creep into the playoffs and then get to the playoff final and win it. And then
yeah.
Something like
probably Blackburn.
Yeah, or probably Blackburn, yeah.
Right, so we need to fill now the middle tier, so 7th to 13th. So who else out of the clubs left? Who else do you think finishes in that middle tier? Let's say after these 3 sides.
So I think Coventry will probably still be okay. I know that obviously they've got rid of Gyökeres, which will be a big miss, but they seem to be keeping hold of Hamer, who's someone I own, and I know how good he is. I've actually watched a fair bit of Coventry when they're in the playoffs and just coming up to the playoffs. He's a really good player. I haven't really been keeping up to date with any transfer rumors with him, but I haven't seen any, so maybe he's staying.
He's been linked, but nothing's been concrete.
Yeah, and then I really rate Sims. Like I was kind of gutted to see him go, but we needed the money, which is sad. And he's a really good player. He's already proven himself at the sort of league below with Sunderland. He banged him in for Hearts. He banged him in for Blackpool as well. Like he's a good goal scorer. I don't think he's quite at Gyökeres' level, obviously, but he's going to do a good job for them, I think. So if you take, have they sold Doyle as well that we talked about earlier? So obviously
Callum Doyle, he was on loan to Cov, and then he's gone back to Leicester, which is why I think he's going to, because he dominated at Cov, and I think now at Leicester he's going to be in the best side in the league. So I think he's going to do really well. Fine.
So yeah, I'd probably leave Coventry in there. I think I probably would put Bristol City in there, even if they do sell the guy that I forgot the name of.
Alex Scott, you're thinking of?
Alex Scott. I still think they've got a good squad, and they do always seem to be around. I mean, obviously they weren't really around that zone last year, were they? But they're usually in that sort of mid-tier range.
We're super. So as you've gone to see, we're super inconsistent. So 1 minute we look like we are, we might win 5 on the trot and look like we are a promotion team and play very good football. The next minute we lose 4 or 5 on the spin and it gets a little bit toxic in the ground. And
that is exactly it, isn't it? You always seem to do runs of either thing. Like you're never just you're consistently inconsistent. Well, that doesn't make sense, but you like go in patches of consistency either way. I wonder if it's a little bit to do with Pearson is such an
I think it is Pearson, mate. I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think he's done a great job on sorting out the deadwood, on restructuring the club, on steadying the ship. He's kept us in the league. He's kind of got sorted out the wages to a point. He's got some good young players through. And again, to your point earlier, I think then you need like a younger, progressive manager. That's
someone with a bit of charisma. Do you know what I mean? Like someone who's gonna, if all things are going a bit wrong, can just kind of like give you a bit of a G up. It just feels like he's just a fucking grumpy bastard all the time. Maybe he's not like that behind closed doors. I don't know, but
no, I'm with you. I think if I'm being honest, I think we're gonna have. It will be the same as always. We'll have it will look great. We'll look like a playoff threat, and then we'll finish outside of the playoffs. I would probably have Bristol City in that section, but I wouldn't have them kind of quite as high as sort of 7th, 8th, 9th. Yeah, 10th, maybe 10th, 11th. Yeah, I probably would have
Conway Bell. You've got Vyman as well, right? Still, so
yeah.
You got goals.
I think Cov and Sunderland are probably bigger threats than Bristol City. I'd probably have Cov. No, maybe Sunderland. Maybe Sunderland, then Cov, then Bristol City would be kind of how I'd sit it. I don't know how that looks to you.
So we need 6 for the middle, don't we, for that one?
Yeah.
So I mean that looks pretty solid to me. I mean, let's look at who we've got left there. I mean, you've got the 2 Welsh teams there, which I think could do okay. West Brom, obviously another big team, but I think they're getting completely crippled by not having any money at the moment.
Tell you what, who are sorting themselves out is Stoke. Stoke got rid of O'Neill. They look a more stable club now. They made some good signings. They sorted out the goalkeeper issue with Travers as well, which is a big one.
True.
Goalkeeper's always a big spot. I would probably vouch for Stoke being in that section and could argue that they actually could finish above any of these teams if it goes right, but probably in a very Stokey way they'll finish 13th.
Yeah.
You got that?
Yeah, it's fine.
And then into that sort of final section then. So, I mean, all of these clubs finished there. I think Plymouth will overachieve this season. I'm kind of ruining what I'm going to talk about later, but...
Oh, no. I think we might both be talking about the same thing then.
Excellent. Well, shall we just put them up there and then say no more?
Yeah.
I think they're going to overachieve. And then you've got Swansea, West Brom. I would peg as kind of your next 2 big clubs. I think Cardiff will struggle. I'd have them last out that group. And then Preston, Ipswich are both a bit meh. I think Ipswich will stay up, but Preston are just meh.
I think Ipswich I think Ipswich will struggle personally. I think Swansea will finish above Cardiff. I mean, Swansea got Joel Perot, who's obviously a really good striker. He's getting linked as well. Like, obviously, all these predictions could change massively depending on what happens in the next couple of weeks of the transfer window because, so goal scorers are such a rare commodity that, they're getting poached left, right and centre all over the place, aren't they? So,
yeah.
It could all change. But I think if Swansea can keep hold of Joel Pro, they could well have a really good season. Cardiff have got Aaron Ramsey now as well. You never know if he can stay fit for more than about 4 games, they might do all right.
I think they're flat as a sieve. I think that'll be a when everyone gets excited about prodigal son returning, like the fairy tale story. I think he'll come back, get injured, play a little bit, get injured again, play a little bit. Then they'll realise that they need legs in the Championship, and there's the most competitive, like physical league in the world, and he's struggling in these easier physically leagues.
I think there's more chance of his son playing more games than him because did you see that his son signed at the same time?
No, it didn't.
So he's got like an 8-year-old son, and part of the deal was that they both signed. So Aaron Ramsey's kid now plays for their youth team.
I did not see that.
Which is kind of a nice little touch, but he might genuinely play the same amount of games as Aaron Ramsey in the Championship. I don't know.
Nice, right? Well, anyway, that's what it looks like. I think that's pretty. That's pretty decent picture of kind of how the league should finish or could finish. The thing with the Championship is always worth saying is it is probably the most competitive league in the whole world. The the relegation and the promotion teams generally, like, yeah, you can split it to a point, but any team will beat any team.
Yeah.
And from a Sorare perspective, I guess looking at that there, you've got options in Southampton, you've got options in Leicester. So you've got potentially two big stacks that you can run in the league. Again, if Mill have a great season again, people like Zion Fleming could be stackable with those players as well. And if we're thinking Norwich and Leicester and Cov, not Leicester, Norwich, Hull and Cov are hitting mid-tier, again, as well as Leeds, there's lots of options. So as someone who follows the Championship, I'm excited from a Sorare perspective this season more than ever, because I feel like we've got so many more options than normal. I guess that comes with relegated teams as well. But yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity, and it's already making me think about like who might go down from the Prem next season. Try and pick up some studs ready for the next year. But anyway, any last sort of thoughts on that one, mate?
Not really. I think it's pretty solid. And like you said, it's such a flipping competitive league. It's impossible. So don't at us if you've watched this and at the end, Sheffield Wednesday win the league and Leicester get relegated. You know, it genuinely, I've seen a lot of these prediction things for the Championship over on Twitter the last sort of few days, and everyone talks about different teams. So it can all change.
Yeah. And if you have issues with Adobe, don't come back at us. Not our problem. Right. So to finish off, last sort of element of Championship section is SO5 Team of the Season. So with this one, we're picking one player per position, plus I call them the X player, but you know, the extra player. We are focusing on the team that we think will smash. So the team that we think, not just who will be best in real life, but who will be the best team from a Sorare perspective this season. If money wasn't an object and someone said, I'm building a Championship stack, who should I go for? We would recommend these guys. John, do you want to go first?
Yeah, you crack on. You go first.
Cool, I shall. So I've kind of stacked mine all together. But what I'll do is I'll reveal one at a time because it's more fun like that, isn't it? So yes. In goal, let's do a quick little search. So in goal, I found goalkeeper like probably the tougher one to do because there are a limit in terms of number of players in the Championship. I said that, I can't contradict myself. I said there's loads more this season. There is, but there's still not that many goalkeepers. That's why any goalkeeper in Championship goes for a considerable amount of money. You could argue it's still not too much, but you're going to struggle to get hold of one because there's just not that many around. Travers has just moved from Bournemouth on loan, played plenty of games last season to a point, is in the Ireland squad regularly, and is actually a solid keeper at a decent age. So I really like Travers as a goalie anyway, full stop. If I had more cash, I would have owned one already and got lucky with his move. Stoke, again, I think are a progressive team who will have a solid season, which means that he'll have opportunities for clean sheets, but he'll also have games where he's super busy, gets peppered, and maybe even concedes quite a few goals, which means maybe a cap player as well, currently a little bit high. But yeah, Travers is my pick, mainly because there's not that many options. Who did you go for, John?
I have gone for, I know this has been a common theme throughout the whole time we've been doing this, but I've gone for a player that I own. So I've gone for Daniel Bachmann. There's a lot of goalkeepers in the Championship that the goalkeeper position is kind of up in the air a little bit. No one quite knows who's gonna have it. There's a lot of still transfers to happen in the next couple of weeks. Bachmann is nailed right now. He signed a new deal. I think we've already discussed. I think Watford will have a good season. If you look at his scores, he actually scores pretty well. He's had 3 80 pluses in his last sort of eight games, which is good. He did also get sending off in that little span.
That's pretty solid score, isn't it? Christ, that's
he's a solid
score. The odd one.
I've obviously been keeping up with his sort of transfer news on Twitter the last few weeks because there's been some ums and ahs whether he might leave, he might stay, don't know. But he's signed a new deal. He's there. He's club captain. I just think he's a nailed keeper, and that's like gold dust. He is priced accordingly at the moment. He's going to cost you a lot of money, but
Oh, yeah, he's pricey, isn't he? Christ.
Money is no object in this game. So Bachmann is my man.
Yeah, I like it. I think that's a very good pick. Who are we going? So defense next. I am going for, mentioned him multiple times. I'll keep banging on about him. Callum Doyle, I think, could be a future England player. He's a very good defender. He's only 19, so can play in your U23s. You can be patient on him if you need to. He had a solid season last season at Coventry. When I say solid, he actually had a very impressive season at Coventry from a real perspective, in terms of watching him play, and also from a Sorare output perspective, was pretty solid as well. If you're looking at getting him, there is that risk that they've got very good centre backs already, or established centre backs such as Connor Cody, Sutar, Wout Faes. Even saying that, you probably would go, actually, maybe you play those three first. But Doyle has youth. Doyle has pace. Doyle is just a very good player who, even if he doesn't start, I think he ends up being a starter by the end of the season. And I can only see him getting better. So Doyle is my choice.
He needs to grow some stubble there. I mean, Christ, it looks like he's fresh out of the womb.
He does. He kind of, it's quite concerned actually. He could be in my son's class. But anyway, who have you gone for, mate?
Nice. So I've gone for someone that I've always kind of sneaky rated, to be honest. He's from one of the relegated teams. I've gone for Kyle Walker-Peters.
Yes.
So not getting linked with too many moves away. Obviously, everyone's getting linked with moves everywhere at the moment. So he might well join flipping Al Ittihad next week for all I know. But
if you own him, he probably will, mate.
Yeah, probably. He's still really cheap. You're looking at sort of 50 to 60 quid. He was a good player for them in the Prem, and he is a very attacking fullback, but he's actually a good defender as well. So he's going to play. I just think he's going to be vastly better than the Championship. Southampton, I mean, when you look at Southampton scores on Sorare, it just makes you feel sick. They were so bad last year, they were scoring awfully. So, you look at his scores there and he's oranges and yellows across the board, but actually he's a lot better player than that. He'll get decisives in the Championship. He's constantly up front, I swear. Every game I used to watch Southampton, he's flipping up there. And I think there's enough bad teams in the Championship that he's going to have a field day, to be perfectly honest with you. So he's in there as my random defender.
You know, what I like about that pick is, first of all, the cost. He's again, everyone's overpriced on floor at the minute, but if you pick one up for around 40, 45 quid for a player who should be a nailed starter, we assume anyway. You never truly know, but we assume at Southampton, who we predicted to be a top 2 team, therefore they'll win the majority of their games and probably have plenty of clean sheets. With a cap score of 38 and with a L 40 of 39, that means you've got a lot of playing time of him hitting decent scores, playing across multiple cap modes. So you could argue that if his scores increase considerably and consistently, he could be even a bit of a cheat code for your cap team. That's the kind of players I like to have for my cap team, players of upside. So I like that pick a lot, actually.
Yeah, another thing, whilst you mention it, actually, that last 15 average of 38, even if he scores really well for the next 5 or 6 games, that's going to stay really low. It's going to take a lot of high scores for him to really get that average up. So actually, he'll be a really useful cap player for quite some time. Because really, once a player starts getting above sort of 55 is when a player becomes really difficult to get into a cap 240 team, isn't it? And he's going to be taking months to get anywhere near that. So yeah, it's a good point you make there.
So midfield, I've gone for Dewsbury Hall, KDH, as I like to call him. I was really impressed by him last season. Coming into a struggling side, playing in midfield, not looking out of place. He's arguably one of the better standout players. There was also, I heard a stat around him making, I think it was as many progressive passes as Maddison, who's obviously had the big move. If he can translate that, which he should do into the Championship with someone like Winks behind him who does just all recycle work for him, I think Dewsbury Hall is going to be more attacking this season and get very solid output. Again, in my opinion, a top 2 team. So there will be goals there will be victories, there will be clean sheets. There'll be domination of the ball. And to my last point, like, I just like this L15 and this L40. 40 and 45 for a top team and a top player is way too low. Like, that makes, if you can get players like him and Walker Peters in your side and they play every game with caps like that, I mean, again, nothing's guaranteed, but I think that's pretty fail-safe way to ensure both Ethereum regular payouts, if you can get those types of players, and potentially cards, and you get that midweek utility and playing in the long term. I'm making myself want one. I mean, I do want one anyway, just to have the spare cash at the minute. What do you reckon?
I mean, yeah, I think he's a really good player, and he's definitely going to have to play more of a key role for Leicester now they've sold sort of Maddison. He kind of plays a similar sort of role to Maddison. Obviously, Maddison was very good, so he's got a lot to live up to. But you look at his price there on the right, it would seem a lot of people also agree with you there. So I think he is going to have a good year, and I do think Leicester are going to have a good season too.
Look at that. It's pretty peaky, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty peaky. My midfielder wise, it may be that you've also selected him as your position X in your team, but I find it very difficult to look past Ward-Prowse.
Yeah, God, yeah. If he stays there,
yeah, I mean, he's going to be really expensive still, but he's going to continually take everything for them, like he has done: penalties, free kicks, corners. Like, I think Southampton's going to score a lot of goals, and if they score goals, he's predominantly going to be a part of them. So he could genuinely be double that price, like halfway through the season, because he's just scoring so well. I genuinely think. But then there's also that risk that he does leave, because a lot of teams get desperate, especially Everton, or get desperate the closer they get to the transfer window. So they could end up just paying the 40 mil that Southampton want. I mean, if you were to go all,
he'd be a good signing for Everton, wouldn't he? I reckon.
Yeah. We can't afford it. There's no way we can afford it. But if you go on all, I'd be interested to see his scores from the season before for Southampton. Like,
ridiculous.
That's very good. Like, you could genuinely make a case for him becoming one of the goats of the game if he does this in the he's doing that in the Premier League. You think what he could do in the Championship, but he's a definite shoe-in for me.
Mate, what's crazy is I thought about him and then I got distracted by Gabriel Sara. I'll be honest with you, who I'll come on to later. But looking at his scores and thinking about who he is, I mean, I think it's probably because I assume Ward-Prowse was leaving. If Ward-Prowse doesn't go, you can't ignore that. Like, that's ridiculous, isn't it? Because again, remember these green scores, even in the last 6 months, let's say, that's in the side that just got relegated.
Yeah,
like that's in a side that's not dominating the ball. So,
I don't think he's going to leave. I think he'd probably leave if Southampton got that price, and he'd be fine. As long as Southampton are benefiting greatly from what. But I don't think Southampton will drop the price, and I don't think he'll leave unless they do. So unless someone meets the price they want for him. So yeah,
mate. It's hard to argue, isn't it? So up front, I found up front really hard. There's two players I could not decide between, and even as I go through this now, I'm really torn between them. Both players massively at risk of leaving as well, or high interest, because they're too good for this level. I'm from a Sorare perspective, I'm going for Zion Fleming. Just because I followed him closely last season. His L15 and 60 kind of says it all. I owned him, as I said, so that's enough for me to kind of justify how I rate him. He has the ability to peak. He hasn't hit any hundreds, I don't think. Maybe historically he did. I guess that's one black mark you could have against him. Even when he has his good games, he's hitting 84s, 89s. But I mean, let's be honest, that's still enough at this sort of level to get cards, to get ETH, to get challenge. So, and the good thing about what I like about Zion Fleming versus pretty much all the strikers in the Championship is he plays in the hole behind the main number 9. So he's a ball playing. He's more like an ACM half the time or most of the time, as opposed to, he's a number 10 as opposed to your number 9, which is quite rare in the Championship. So yeah, I struggled to look past Iron Fleming. I bought mine and then sold mine for 200 quid. So technically, if you pick one up for 170, 178 quid at the minute, I'd say you're doing all right. But also, his price is factored in the fact that he's had 4 unsuccessful bids by Burnley, which obviously you don't want, and all the other clubs have been looking at him. I would wait until the transfer window shuts and then I would buy one, because if he plays in the Championship, I think he absolutely smashes. John, who have you got?
I like that pick. Yeah, I think it's good. The only thing I was sort of having an iron with him is that obviously Nisbet's there now, so you don't know how quite that's going to affect. I think was Fleming on penalties last year. I think Nisbet's might be potentially on penalties. I don't know, but
that's a good point.
Nisbet
took some penalties in pre-season, so it's a very good point.
Certainly a good pick though. Obviously, I think he'll do well. So striker-wise, I have gone for a bit rogue, but feel like he's going to have a bounce back season. I've gone for Patson Daka. Like I said, a bit rogue. I've already mentioned him briefly. I do think he'll stay at Leicester. I own one of his limited, so I've been sort of keeping up to date with his transfer rumours. Seems more likely they're going to sell Iniacho, and I don't think they'll sell both of them, and they'll keep Vardy in one of them. Obviously, didn't really play much of a part last year for Leicester, but if you click on all of his games rather than the last year, he was an elite scorer before he came to Leicester.
Where was he?
He was at Red Bull Salzburg, I believe.
Was he?
Yeah. He played with Haaland back in the day.
Yeah. Salzburg days. Yeah, he looked pretty solid. He scored basically every game.
Yeah, I've always found it a bit weird with Daka because I've always really rated him, and he's absolutely rapid as well.
Fast,
and he's a good finisher. He's always, maybe it's his work rate, I don't know, but he always looks like the perfect sort of striker for the Prem. Like, he's fast. There's no substitute for pace in the Prem. Like, if you've got pace, usually you're in. It never really happened for him at Leicester. I don't know, but I do think he's going to stay and he's going to absolutely go mad in the Championship, personally. Maybe with your boy KDH laying on the assists. But no, I fancy him. I think he's going to do well. And he's still reasonably cheap. You still pick him up for around sort of like £90 to £120 at the moment, which is quite good. And there is still that chance he moves, in which case his value probably stays, to be honest. Like, if he does go back to a team like Salzburg, or you could see him going to a different German team other than, obviously his goals are in Austria, but I'm saying, like, he could go to a German sort of mid-table team and still do well there as well. So I think he's a pretty solid bet, and he's only 24. So yeah,
I see Daka as like a dice roll. He's a gamble, and he's like a gamble. I'm looking at SD now, and it's saying about 134 is his value. Even at that, for a striker at a team who could win the league, who therefore will score loads of goals, therefore he should score those goals or contribute. That to me is like at 134 is value. And again, looking at his cap score, L15 34, L40 38. Again, a potential cheat code again. Like, if you're making 50 quid at a time, or $50 at a time, whatever, you've only got to win 3 times, and you've made your money back on him. And at a cap of 34, you are going to get a lot of attempts at that. The only thing with Patson Daka is obviously I think he's people think he's going to be a sub, basically. That's what Play Sharp are all saying, and he probably will start as sub. But again, Jamie Vardy, has he got it in him to play a full season in the Championship? Probably not. If he gets injured, Daka stays. Daka suddenly becomes the main man at that price. That's good value to me. So I like that shout. Again, I always look from a cap 240 lens as well, even though we're looking for the best in the league, and I like that. If I had spare cash, I'd probably pick one up myself. I like it. Nice. Final player into the teams, mate. So who have I gone for as my final player? I've gone for I kind of ruined it. So I've changed. I'm listening to you, but Gabriel Sara. Gabriel Sara of Norwich. You kind of said you thought Norwich would have a good season. I'm kind of in between. I think they'll be a little bit like Bristol City. They'll be flashy at times and not at others, a bit inconsistent. Gabriel Sara again, I go by players I watch live as well, which doesn't always translate to Sorare. But I remember watching him live and then checking Sorare and following him afterwards and thinking actually he's a really good player. So he has the ability to peak out. He hit 95, which is a decent score. He's come across from Brazil. It was his first season last year. He seemed to be taking all the set pieces. He's got goals in him. He's just a very good player. Like, yeah, my one reservation with him was I actually thought he was too good for Norwich and he'd get bought this summer. I spoke to the Norwich Play Sharper guy. I think it was Play Sharper. I spoke to someone from Norwich anyway, and they were pretty confident.
Was it the Canary one?
Yeah, it might have been Canary. Whoever it was, I'm pretty confident he wasn't leaving. Obviously, you can never guarantee. I own his card. I've held him. I didn't wimp out like I did with my Fleming, and I think he's on for a really big season. But having listened to you talk about James Ward-Prowse, I would actually drop him out of my side and put Prowse in with KDH, to be perfectly honest. Who's your last player, mate?
It's someone I've talked about previously, and it is someone I own, but he's just so good. You can't keep him out. It's Gustavo Hamer. He's just quality. Like, he's a really good player.
He's very good.
I don't think Coventry will be quite as good as they were last season, but I still think they're going to have a good year. And he's a key man for them. You look at his scores; it's a joke. His last 40 average of 63.
That's dark, isn't it? Wow.
It's a very dark green. The only thing was I thought he potentially might leave. Like, I'd genuinely take him at Everton. He looks very good in the games I saw. But yeah, he's priced accordingly. You're looking at paying a lot for him. So obviously he's not a good value
in him as well.
Pick, but he's a good player. And look at, even when he doesn't score decisive, look at those AAs there, 40, 50. Like, he's a joke. He loves the tackle. He loves the tackle. He loves getting involved. He's like an absolute flipping battery bunny. What do you call it?
A Duracell battery, you think you mean?
Duracell bunny. That's still the fun.
The old battery bunny.
A battery bunny, but no, he's quality. Get him in your teams.
I like it, mate. I like it. So, again, I look at him and go, Christ, yeah, he bloody is good, isn't he? They've lost Gyökeres. How much does that affect Coventry?
Yeah,
they've lost Doyle, who's good on the ball from the back. How much does that affect the ball getting to Hamer? I don't know. But he's a good player, though, isn't he? Like, this is the one thing I noticed with Championship is how hard is it to pick central mid? Like, I've picked KDH, and he's an unknown in the Championship, but I mean, I think his scores will be high. But then I'm struggling to fit in Gabriel Sara because we've got James Ward-Prowse, and then you look at Hamer and go, actually, from a Sorare perspective, Hamer's absolutely smashing it.
Well,
like that shows the depth in terms of like decent options you have in the Championship.
And don't forget Georgie Chakvadadze. What a man!
Chakvadadze, I forgot about that boy. Yeah,
a classic sort of old player from our chats from about 3 years ago, where we all owned one at one point, didn't we? When he was at Ghent, and then he went to.
He was decent. I mean, maybe we overhyped him a little bit, but he used to score fairly well. I thought he was going to be a good player. Obviously not.
I think one other thing that's worth mentioning here is, can you remember the absolute buzz when the five Championship teams came onto the platform, and how excited?
And we thought they'd come a new one each week or each month, wasn't it?
Where the rest? Like, come on.
Yeah, I know.
Like, this would have been perfect leading up to this Championship starting this week, where they could have just been like, bang, we've got some new clubs coming up, like another 5 or something like that. Like, obviously they've struggled to get the license or whatever, I don't know, but the Championship is such a well-followed league. Like, so many people, like, it's a very popular league in England, like, obviously, but like, it's good fun. And there's so many games as well, so much utility, 46 games. Like, you get a Championship regular start. I remember when I had Kaminsky when he was at Blackburn, he was playing every week. I just have a goalkeeper every single weekend and midweek. It was glorious.
No, I get it, mate. I mean, I actually, having seen Backman tonight as well, I didn't realize he scored so well. Like, he's a bit of a cheat code, isn't he, in terms of like keepers in that league. I mean, there's so many great options, and Championship brings that midweek utility. Like, yeah, I think it's a great league. I kind of regret not. I kind of got distracted by the Premier League, and the reality is I probably should have built more into the Championship. But hey, we live and we learn. So, John, I was trying to get like a bit of a collective team up just to finish on.
Okay.
So, I put in Travers, but you suggested Backman, and actually, I think Backman is the better option. So I'd agree with you. I'd put Backman in goal.
I just think because he's a known entity, I guess, in the Championship, you probably keep him in.
How do you spell Backman?
Bachmann. You've got midfielder selected. I think that's probably why.
That'll be why.
That'll be why.
Seamless content. So Backman in goal, and then we've got. I think Callum Dorr is nailed on. Who do you suggest as your defender?
I suggested Walker Peters, which I think is also a good option. It's a tough one, isn't it? Like, obviously, Walker Peters is a kind of proven entity, and Door's more of a...
Door's proven at Championship level and scoring at Championship level.
I was going to say, yeah, maybe he has a higher upside. I don't know.
Can look past Hamer in midfield. I feel like I agree with you and James Ward-Prowse. Like, if he stays, he's your captain every week, surely. He's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then up front, Zion Fleming or Patson Daka?
I think you probably got to go Fleming, haven't you? Just because we both thought Millwall were going to have a good season as well. Daka, I think, although I do think he's going to have a good year, is obviously a bit more of a risk because you don't quite know what's going to happen. Is Fleming not a forward?
For some reason, he's listed as midfield. I found this earlier, so I owned him as a forward in Rare, but I wonder if he's now a midfielder in Limited, potentially.
Right. But he does have forward cards.
I've owned his forward. I owned a Zion Fleming forward in Rare.
He was Fortuna Sittard, wasn't he, before?
Yeah. In fact, yeah. And so maybe he has both cards in. Yeah, he does. Well, there you go. So there's a tip. If you're buying a Zion Fleming, watch which card you buy. So there we go. Anyway, so our chosen team, we've got Backman in goal, Dora back, Hamer in midfield alongside Ward-Prowse, and Zion Fleming in the missing magic box because he doesn't have his rare card on there. Nice. There we are. And that is your Championship team of the season. John, anything else before we sign off and say goodbye?
I don't think so. I mean, other than the fact that I think we were both going to briefly mention that we both think Plymouth might do well this season or overachieve a little bit.
That's true.
I mean, I think you probably got a better knowledge than me, and obviously you went to Plymouth Uni as well, right? So you got your heart set on Plymouth. I just think they absolutely smashed the League One last year, didn't they? They nailed it. I think I was reading something saying that they had 3 really good players on loan last year, and they've managed to sign 2 of them and get him back, the other one back on loan again. So they've managed to keep, they've managed to keep their squad. I'm not by any means saying they're going to push playoffs, but I do think they're going to do a lot better than people think, personally.
Mate, they're a solid club. I mean, again, you mentioned I've actually worked for Plymouth. I know they've been all over the shop historically, financially, ownership, but they're a big club, but they're right down in the southwest, and it's hard to get players to go there. So historically, they've reached the highest championships, then gone back down, and it's always been a bit of a meh. But they've got a good owner now. That again, I bang on about owners, but owners make a big difference in terms of building clubs now. They have a good owner there who is backing them. They've done it. They've done it the right way. They've built a squad. So they've got Schumacher in charge. They built a decent squad with some youth in there as well, and they've got a good way of playing. I think they're going to be. I actually think they're going to be a lot of people's second favourite team in the Championship next season because they're kind of quite open. They take risks, so they'll concede goals, but they'll score goals as well, and they'll just be quite a fun team to watch. They've got, again, you said good signings. Aziz, the midfielder, was really, really good. He's still there, and most importantly, there are worse teams in the Championship, which is why I don't think they'll go down. And they may even benefit from the fact that people won't want to travel all the way down to Plymouth. That might be a pain in the ass.
I was going to say as well, one thing about teams that are, sometimes struggling is the fans usually sort of pull you through. And obviously Everton have had that. They're a very well-supported club, Everton. It's a very close-knit. And they have helped. I think Plymouth will be the same. you know, they're going to be buzzing to be up in the Championship. I think they're a well-supported club in the area.
Yeah.
And then, but you think about some other teams that, you know, I've mentioned Blackburn, it might struggle. Like, they haven't got a particularly big fan base, I don't think, and don't fill out the stadiums. And I just think Plymouth is a much smaller stadium, isn't it? It's going to be more of an intense atmosphere if they do need that sort of 12th man. Plymouth will have that.
They're good. They're side on the up. That's the important thing. I think they're building, and I think they're ready. They've got a team that is ready for the Championship. But we'll see. We'll see. So that's it. That is Championship preview over. Tomorrow it all begins, and we will find out if we were marginally correct or talking absolute nonsense, because Saints take on Chef Wednesday. So that'll, you know, our suggested promoted versus relegated team. Let's see how they start off. Obviously, it's only the first game. And then next week the Prem is back. So obviously we've got Community Shield this weekend on Sundays. I forgot about that. Community Shield this Sunday, and then Prem properly back next week. So it's all happening. Loads of opportunities to build your teams. There's still time, although prices are pretty heavy at the minute in terms of, like, it's that excitement, isn't it? Wait, if you're building and you can wait a couple of weeks and you get them cheaper. But if you can't, get stuck in, because there's lots of opportunities.
Can't wait for my hope and aspirations to come crashing down to depression on a Tuesday and a Thursday. But no, I'm excited to be able to, obviously the Premier League Pro and whatever's available now to see. So I was excited to see my full Everton stack inputted and ready to go. Let's go,
mate. I'm again. We'll touch it next week. But I'm supporting Everton. I've got a fair few of your players in my team this season, so I'll be cheering them on. But anyway, let's say that for next week. Good luck, everyone. Everyone who's got a team this game week. Enjoy your first weekend of Championship football. We certainly will do, and we will see you again next Tuesday and Thursday. See you later. Up the Thursday Club.
Up the Toffees.